Welcome back to the Best Ball Happy Hour here at 4 for 4 Football. As always, I'm your host, John Daigle, joined today by an eclectic group of friends. First up, you know him from NBC Sports Edge. It is none other than MLB DFS player professional Kyle Dvorchak. Kyle, how are you doing, buddy?
It's good. It's almost 7 o'clock, which, as we all know, is MLB lock. So let's get the show on the road.
I know. What a damn shame.
I can't believe they don't have real sports going on. Like, MLB is terrible.
We are in that time of the year where quite literally nothing is happening. If you don't watch golf, actually, I don't know what you do for the next 2 months.
Like I said, I can't believe real sports aren't going on.
Also on today's show is none other than, I don't even know what your actual title is, Rob. Rob Coakley, of course, of Spike Week. What do you do? What is the official title besides working next to Eric Beimfor?
I am officially the head of media and marketing of Spike Week. I also produce for Roto Grinders, Scores and Odds, all of that stuff, as well as host, because I'm the most talented person at Roto Grinders, and it's pretty obvious.
You're supposed to say these things in your Twitter bio. That way I can research them just 7 seconds before we go live, and I make it sound as if I had been practicing all day. And then, of course, you know him from Substack and his Stealing Signals subscription. It is none other than the great Ben Gretsch. Gretsch, how are you feeling this time of year?
Good, man. Yeah, I mean, not a ton to do. Just getting ready for the season, doing a bunch of projections and stuff. It's a good time of year. You ask how I'm doing this time of year. I mean, this is a good time of year. We're chilling.
So this is what we're going to do together. We are going to jump into a DraftKings lobby because usually this segment is reserved for Best Ball Manias. But we have another 2 months to do that. I just want to try something different. I have actually only done one DraftKings draft so far. Kyle, I think you've done more. I could be wrong. Rob, I know you've
got like 10. Yeah.
Good. Okay, Rob, I know you've done a lot more. So we're going to go ahead and explain the difference in scoring as we move along. The issue is that as I'm trying to jump in live behind the scenes right now, it keeps on telling me I'm restricted, and that cannot be the case. So let me
we can do it on my account if you want.
This out. Yes, we may need to do that because I'm not sure why my location is getting blocked now. The same thing Gretsch was yelling at me earlier saying he can't draft because he will get blocked. So, Rob, since you're good at this,
some say I'm the best. So
you are the best. You said you have a lot of skills. We can go ahead and use your screen. That's cool.
Yeah, we can jump on mine. That's fine. And you can see all my exposures, and Gretsch and Kyle can yell at me for them.
Oh, that's true. We can show off the Spike Week tool.
That's right.
All right. Here we go. That's beautiful.
All right. We're just going to jump right in. Yeah, the scoring, I think, is actually the most important thing to talk about with DraftKings because everybody knows that it's full point PPR, but I don't think anyone other than kind of myself and Eric lately have been talking about the bonus points that get attributed to some of these players. And I'm trying to figure out how I want to navigate that a little bit based on positionally, because those 3 bonus points for a quarterback seem like it could make a gigantic difference on DraftKings versus some of these other sites, like what you're getting on Underdog for points, because we always talk about it's easy to catch up to the quarterbacks, but 3 bonus points for a quarterback is almost an extra touchdown. Right. So is there a big enough separation when you start attributing bonus points to some of these guys that are hitting a 300-yard passing game consistently?
Rob, didn't you say last year Mahomes had like 11 such games and the next closest quarterback was 6 or some like
it was 10 and 5
discrepancy? 10 to 5.
Yeah,
like twice as many as the next most 300-yard games is kind of absurd.
Right.
So whereas Best Ball Mania, we are trying to argue against the quarterbacks going top 30. Are you suggesting then that in this format, actually, they should be going top 30?
I think that the quarterbacks and the tight ends get a bit of a premium boost because of the bonus points. The elite tight ends, because of what they're
because there's only like 5 tight ends that could have a 100-yard game.
Exactly. And I think the bonus points don't matter as much, obviously, for a receiver, because 3 receptions is a lot easier to do as a wide receiver to make up those bonus points, right? Like a guy can catch 8 passes as opposed to 3. So I'm kind of been diving into that a little bit over the last week and a half. And I think that it just gives you more of a boost than we generally talk about for those 2 positions specifically.
Let me give you a devil's advocate, because this is a 20 man roster is the other big difference on DK,
Yep.
which makes 3QB a little more viable. And 3QB does add a layer. I mean, in best ball, like you obviously get to play whatever the spike week is. We know in quarterbacks from DFS, what have you, you can pay down at quarterback. Like quarterbacks are going to have a certain amount of volume. Part of the reason that like later round quarterback strategies kind of suck is there aren't that many. I mean, last year obviously offense was down across the league. There aren't that many appealing late round quarterbacks, but a lot of that is there aren't a lot of mobile quarterbacks that are going later. But we do have some pocket passers like the Derek Carr types and Matthew Stafford's if he stays healthy. Those guys can throw for 300 yards in a game, and if you have 3 of those guys in a 20-man roster, I mean, is there a little bit of a balance there where you can make up some of that with a 3QB build in a 20-man league?
That's definitely a possibility. The problem on DraftKings, though, is even though you have the extra 2 rounds, you can get locked out of quarterback on DraftKings a lot faster than you can on Underdog. People are pushing all of the quarterbacks up a few rounds. So you need to be cognizant of how you're doing the 3 quarterback builds if that's what you want to do.
When do you get locked out? Like round 16?
Yeah, 16, 17, you can be completely locked out on DK by then.
Jeez.
So
it's a pretty fun format.
So to get to a 3QB build, you got to start hitting them at that like absolute latest, like 13, 14, which is still a pretty nice range to be hitting running backs, receivers, those types of things. Yeah, correct. That balances it back to elite QBs a little bit.
Yeah.
It's
so I'm still thinking through it. Like I don't have a strong like a stance. I'm leaning that the elite QBs are much more viable on DraftKings than Underdog. I'm still taking them on both sites here and there. Like I'll have a higher percentage ownership to the elite QBs than probably anyone else that streams teams and stuff. But I think on DraftKings, I think it's a gigantic edge, and it's brought me back to more elite tight ends as well.
It's also a lot of fun to do something different on DraftKings because ADP is so out of whack compared to the accuracy of all the sharks and on Underdog that it does feel like a home league, and that you're like sifting down a couple rounds and starring these guys, knowing you're going to get them way beyond where they're going.
I keep hearing this, and I haven't done any on DK yet this year, so I'm really curious about this. Are there some specific players you guys can highlight that are going way later on DK than Underdog?
The big one is usually everyone brings up JSN, who's like a round and a half, 2 rounds.
That's actually what I was going to say.
Yeah. That's the one that everyone brings up. But
ADP's like 60 on Underdog. So what is it, like 80 here?
Let's see. We can look
it may have gotten a little sharper, but this is like the
77.
The only platform that like Lockett goes like a full round ahead of JSN most times.
What do you guys like doing at 5?
I'm the biggest Lockett fan, but.
Well, 5 can be interesting. I've seen Chase fall to 5 on a couple drafts.
Wow.
So it's like, so it really opens it up. I'm usually Cooper Kupp over Tyreek Hill, but I'm open. It's not, I don't have a strong lean.
I'm Kupp over Hill too. I was wondering if you were going to push for Kelsey after talking about the elite tight ends being higher, but I would be one of the receivers.
Well, we could go. Yeah. Where are you guys leaning?
I'm for Kupp, but Kyle, if you want to sell Kelsey over Kupp,
go with Kupp. I'm also for Kupp, but I'd be fine with Kelsey too. I mean, we talked about the bonus. Last year, 37 different quarterbacks threw for 300 yards in a single game. That bonus, as Ben was pointing out, may be attainable by a lot of guys. Not consistently attainable, but you could maybe piecemeal it together. 7 different tight ends got to 100 yards. Only 2 of them did it more than 2 times. Like Kelsey, it's the same thing. Mahomes was 2 to 1 of the next guy throwing for 300 yards. How many times he did it? Kelsey was like that, and then he's infinite to 1 outside of 6 other guys. So, like, I get it.
What I also love about DraftKings, Rob, is just the different kinds of formats. And Underdog still has numerous plans to keep them coming. But I love the single entries. I really do. And especially like these little small stakes, recreational micro stakes, single entries, like the $9, the $4, the $15, and kind of getting my bullet out of the way early, just taking that edge while everyone else waits for ADP to shift for the summer. Is there a different way of drafting that you and Spike Week usually suggest for those single entries, as opposed to like what we're doing now, the Millie Maker that's going to finish with, 300,000 plus entries?
So for the single entries, what we've been doing a lot more of, especially myself, is overstacking teams, basically onslaughting because the finals are a lot smaller. So if I'm making a bet, say we were making a bet on the Rams just because we took Cooper Kupp, maybe I look to onslaught them a little bit more. Maybe we do look for Cam Akers, Tyler Higbee, Matt Stafford type of deal. It's not something I've done with the Rams a lot, but just based off of who we took in the first round or other teams as well. Maybe you want to make a bet on Denver, right? And you just onslaughting Denver as opposed to other teams, or even the higher ones. Like if you want to do a Chiefs onslaught, you can do that relatively easily. So those are the things that we're suggesting a little bit more on the stuff that has the smaller finals. It's like DFS, right? Like you want to onslaught an offense in a smaller field tournament as opposed to a larger field. So we are back on the clock.
Jalen Waddle, Devonta Smith. If you wanted to go running back already, we could.
I would be Waddle or Olave personally, but mostly Waddle.
I think I'm team Olave over Waddle.
Me too.
All right, let's go Olave.
We can take Olave.
I kind of like I was the two QBs I threw out as guys that I think in the later rounds can probably get to 300 yards with a reasonable frequency. I mentioned Stafford and Carr. I kind of like that we've already set up these stacks with quarterbacks that probably get a boost with the 300-yard thing that Rob was mentioning.
Yeah, and if you look, the thing we were talking about with these elite QBs, by the time we were up on the clock, Hurts, Mahomes, and Allen were already gone. They weren't even an option for us in these drafts, which isn't always the case, but you even see Lamar go here in the second round. So DraftKings does push these quarterbacks up, so we want to make sure we're cognizant of that as we're drafting and if we're pushing QB to a later point.
And as Best Bell comes in, and the 13 healthy games Olave finished, I think we're nitpicking here anyways, but his target share didn't drop below 20%. Like he had a significantly higher floor than people think last year too.
Yeah,
that was with like Thomas playing a handful of games. Jarvis Landry actually took away targets as well.
We're on the clock, guys. We have Devonta Smith, T. Higgins, Ramondre.
I'd be fine with any of those plays. I'm totally fine going 0 RB. Ramondre and even Brees are fine RBs.
Let's draft on DraftKings more often. This is fun.
Yeah.
I don't mind Devontae.
Do a running back. Let's go 0 RB. I haven't had a ton of true zero, or sorry, do a receiver real quick. Do a receiver.
Devontae.
Because I haven't done a ton of like true 0 RB, no running backs through like 6-7 rounds. So
yeah,
I think I have maybe one of my 10, if that even. So let's see what this looks like.
Easy to do on full PPR. DraftKings, not easy.
Well, PPR and 3 wide receiver starts.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
This room is pretty running back heavy. We see Gibbs go 304. And 4 QBs in the second round doesn't hurt. We get Devonta at 305. Ooh.
Yeah, he's pushed down a little bit in this draft as opposed to normal. The Gibbs pick obviously helps. Debo's the outlier here, right?
Yeah,
at 302.
That's interesting.
I feel like that person who takes Lamar at 211 is like super duper likely most of the time to go take Mark Andrews if they make it back around that curve, and they didn't do it.
Yeah.
Also took McCaffrey over Chase. That's an idealistic draft right there out of the 102. Going against ADP.
And I don't mind McCaffrey, the player. It's just that as we've learned from Underdog as well, even in a full PPR format, the way drafts are set up right now, it's kind of an argument to not draft McCaffrey, knowing that in rounds 2, 3, and 4, at that spot, you can basically have 2 anchor running backs that shouldn't be dropping that low.
How early is that drafter going to take Brock Purdy with McCaffrey at 102 and Debo at 302? I feel like that's a Brock Purdy draft.
Let's hope in the 4th round. That's what we want. He's taking Debo is he going to take? Well, I guess he'll take Purdy as a second quarterback over the Lamar. But to Kyle's point, I don't understand taking Lamar so early if you're not setting up the Andrew stack. Like that's the only reason I would ever personally do it in that particular spot. But to each their own. McCaffrey is a guy that I'm fading, but not on purpose for all the reasons that Daigle just said.
Yeah,
I need these wideouts.
Yep.
Okay, so let's look at the 0 RB team. Who are the running backs up right now? As I am also open.
Well, ETN coming all the way to 44 would be.
I would take. I would We don't have to. I'm not committed to the 0 RB bit. I'm committed to drafting the best team bit. So yeah, I would take. Last week
ETN.
ETN. Never mind.
ETN
Never
went.
mind.
So we could go Kenneth Walker if you still like running backs, or we could take another wide out here. We can probably wait on this elite tight end if we wanted to wait on elite tight end.
Take Christian Watson. Let's have some fun.
Yeah,
Get
let's
some
do
Mountain
it.
Dew in your system.
We can grab Watson. That sets up another stack for us later as well with Jordan Love, who
Well, especially since the room is emphasizing running backs, like we might as well.
Yeah. I'm not a big Watson guy. That's a good price. Certainly. I mean, he goes, where does he go? Right at like earlier in the fourth.
He goes like, I think last I checked, his ADP was 39, 38,
Right.
39 overall.
all
We
right.
got
So the
him
Madison
44.
price is starting to get out of control.
Madison
Yes.
411. Okay.
This is kind of the range I figured he'd jump to.
Yep.
This
Which
tier.
he might still be like okay there depending on your build, but I don't even know how. I don't know. I don't think I could justify Madison once he gets to that point. 5th round, yes. 4th round gets a little tough.
Wow. Second QB there in that. The Jackson drafter just took Lawrence.
You guys were trying to apply logic to this fella. Oh, he's going to take his stacks. He knows what he's doing. Does he? Does he know what he's doing?
We could grab George Kittle here to get an elite tight end if that's what you wanted to do.
I think I'd be Godwin here. You get a little game 17, bring back on Olave. That'd be my direction, but I could go a lot of ways here.
Anyone else?
I'd go Kittle, but Godwin's fine too.
I
We
would
can- okay.
I would lean Kittle if that's the case then, because I would be the only person in the camp of Mike Williams and just try to set up some Charger stacks already.
Yes, he would.
It's not about Mike Williams, it's about Justin Herbert. That's what we try to do. We just try to build around Justin Herbert this year.
Well,
like
that
that.
Lawrence
That's a good call.
pick's interesting since we thought he was setting up a 49ers. And to your point, yeah, we're trying to establish logic to a situation
like-
that isn't logical.
Daigle, I really like Keenan and I really like Quentin Johnston, but I don't really like Mike Williams' price personally. I do like building through Herbert, but I like going the other two directions with it. And
I'm with
Gerald
you on
Everett.
this. Yeah.
Totally fair. Allen had a 28% target share, 13.2 points per game. In the games he finished with Mike Williams last year, which I think was 6 total. And so, like, he just dominated targets, dude. Allen, I think, is honestly the most undervalued wide receiver right now.
Yeah, he goes
Yeah,
312 here, which is nice to see because he does belong in the third.
Yeah, he was on like his final 6 whatever games. He didn't play like a ton of games. Final 6, 8, 10 games, whatever it was. He was on pace for like 1,500 yards. Like he was going nuts. And like,
Yes.
I don't think the idea of them throwing deep more is bad for him. The idea of them throwing deep more is like, please God, not 150 targets for Austin Eckler. That's all it means. Like throwing to Keenan Allen more is also throwing deeper than the terrible stuff they were trotting out last year.
There
If-
goes Godwin.
If Mixon had fallen, would that have been a discussion you guys would have wanted to have? That's my curiosity. Like, because I think Mixon's very polarized right now.
Not at 505 for me. I think that's high. I had to like.
I would take him. I'd be fine with that.
Yeah, I think he's fine in the 5th. I think he's going to move up more, personally. I think
He might.
he's going to actually settle in after Brees Hall, probably. If barring
That would be
situations, right?
that'd be wild. It'd be a little
He
bit
was pretty
crazy.
bad last year. I mean, he had the one, obviously, the biggest game of the season for any
Yeah.
player. He had like a 55-point game, but like every other game was like terrible. He had one of the worst rushing yards over expected, and some of those metrics were.
We
perfect.
got to go Cam Akers, right?
I
Well,
don't
if
think
we're
we have to. This certainly doesn't seem like it.
If we're setting up
down.
0 RB, I would think that I'd want to go Deontay Johnson here on this team.
I'm in for that.
All
Or
right.
Evans. Yeah, I would do either.
I mean, you got time to pound the table for Cam Akers.
I mean, he's a screaming value. All they did was add another day 3 running back. Last year's Sean McVay offense, you already took Deontay, right?
I did. We were running out of
That's
time.
Last year's Sean McVay offense was McVay's first to average less than 62 plays per game, less than a 60% pass play rate. So like more volume for everyone involved as well. I like Cam Akers a lot.
I actually do like Cam Akers as well, but my thing is if we've already started making this bet on a 0 RB team,
That's fair.
right? And we had Kupp, Olave, Devonta Smith, Christian Watson. We want at least one more wide receiver after we take the elite tight end. with George Kittle.
Deontay over Evans when we had the Olave Week 17 bring back?
That's a good point. We
Because
could
I
have gone
don't
Evans as well.
remember the week 17s yet. That would be the answer I'd give you.
That's why you look at my overlay, Kyle, and then you see the.
I think in
highlighted
this
teams
case,
here.
I don't like making bets, and it may be too microanalysis spin, but I don't like making bets on like players I have tiers apart, like Deontay and Mike Evans.
You have them tiers apart.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Especially on DK, right? Like because he's
like I'd rather get my exposure with Olave blow up game and thinking Rashad White's the one that helps us out.
and that actually fits our 0 RB build a lot better too.
I think I think both Godwin and Evans are being undervalued right now. They're both really good football players. I understand Baker Mayfield is not a very good football player, but
I have good news for you, Daigle. Cam Akers are still on the board.
I'm fine with it now. Go for it.
Do we want to do it?
I mean, we don't want George Pickens, so I'd rather have Cam Akers.
Do it. Go for it.
Let's do it.
Last year, Ben, the Bucks 84% touchdown passing rate. That was the highest since the 2019 Jaguars. Like, it's just something that's completely unsustainable. As you know, Brady got rid of the ball within 2 seconds. The last
we don't need to
2 years.
anchor to their offense last year, but they're being drafted at prices that suggest that they're not good, or they're going to be on offenses that are really low volume pass off. They're not going to. I mean, Tampa was historically pass heavy last year. I get it. They're not going to be that, but if they're league median, I love the prices for Godwin and Evans.
This is the good players theory of I don't know what the Falcons are going to do exactly, but who's the best rookie tight end ever and the best rookie or the best prospect tight end ever? Who has the highest target share
Dalton
of a rookie
Kincaid.
receiver in the past 20 years? They have both of those guys. I'm just especially at a position that is a bit more determined by talent. I'm fine just drafting Drake London as if he's really good and being I don't know, Jesus, take the wheel for the rest of it. Maybe they don't ever throw a single pass, but he's definitively an extremely good young receiver. And the same thing with Kyle Pitts at tight end. And that's other than young. I mean, that's also true of Godwin's and Evan, who are historically extremely productive and have don't show any signs of dropping off. Other than last year, the offense itself looked bad, but I don't know if that's their fault. It didn't seem like it to me. I don't know.
They can't pass less. They literally cannot pass less.
Drake London is my favorite wide receiver in that large tier that he's in with the Christian Watsons and the Terry McLaurins. So my Drake London ownership is pretty high right now.
I have been betting on Drake London over Kyle Pitts as well, if only because I don't think Kyle Pitts falls into the proper spot of the board to walk away with the tight end at that position, because then it kind of takes away from wide receivers for you.
I mean, he went to 703 here.
I was going to say he has to go a lot higher on underdogs because
that's true. That's true. I'm thinking of tight end. I'm thinking of underdog.
He goes in the 6th on underdog.
Yes.
Yeah, and he's dropping, and Kittle's dropping on underdog as well.
Boy,
I love Pitts. I love Pitts' price.
Yeah.
That's why I wouldn't take Kittle. When you guys want to take Kittle, I want to take Godwin, just literally because I could get Pitts cheaper.
Yeah.
A whole round cheaper or 2 rounds cheaper.
All right, we're going to be coming back on the clock in 2 more picks. And we do see Rashad White go, so there goes that idea that we could have had.
It was a cool idea while it lasted, though.
It was cool.
It's a good idea in theory.
Is there consideration for Deshaun Watson here, or do we want to go somewhere else? We have 20 seconds.
I would want Watson.
Yeah, I would be there.
Bateman?
That's fine.
Bateman. I like Bateman.
Sure, go for it. I also like Bateman.
Yeah, he's way down there.
Was Bateman or Watson?
I'll take Bateman over Watson.
Fair.
Well,
we can really pivot away from receiver. This is where the receiver window really closes. Bateman's one of the last guys that has an upside profile you can get excited about. It starts to get gross at receiver in these next couple rounds. So, we're really receiver heavy with our build so far, but it's a nice 0 RB ish. I don't know if you consider 0 RB where we took Akers, but it's a nice start for sure.
Yeah, I think you can still consider it 0 RB. He was
far
enough down.
He is.
The
We took him.
question. So we don't need to go tight end, obviously, and we're kind of done at wide receiver for now. You guys want to look at what's available at running back? We can kind of
This is a nice running back target area, in my opinion.
I like this. If Javonte makes it to us, he's another one like confirmed good at football. I'm pretty sure this dude was good at football. We have a lot of hurdles to clear between today and him being good at football in 3 months, but like he's gone, so who cares?
I was
gone.
with you.
Yeah.
I was ready to run through a brick
I was
wall.
with you too. I think I only have one share in BB, literally one, and it's this kind of build. It's like, you know what? I need running backs, and he may be dead, but why not? Let's
Okay,
just
but I think my backup would be Pirine or Gibson. I think those are both really nice plays here. What do you guys think about those?
They're fine, I guess. Maybe I just got too excited for Javonte.
Yeah, Pirine's the guy that benefits if Javonte's not ready.
Who do you like, Daigle?
I think we would get starts at a P Ryan.
Yeah, and he's an early points type of play, and we're going to be able to get some handcuffs later in this 0 RB build. So I like the get us out of the gate kind of play.
That was also my biggest hang up for this roster with Javonte was like our second running back. Our first running back isn't great. Our second running back maybe not be giving us a single point for the first 2, 3, 4 weeks. So as much as I did like him, I was tepid for that reason. But
for sure,
this is fine. Piran's all right.
He's got plenty upside late. We could have found some early
20
points.
rounds. We're gonna piece this together.
Yeah, for sure.
My biggest problem with Javonte Williams, as the guy who drafted more Javonte Williams than anybody else last year, is when Denver is just sending out all of his highlights in slow motion. That worries me. It's just like, why are we altering all this footage for every single? It's like if you go watch every single highlight they've released of Javonte Williams, it has been in slow motion. It's crazy.
Hey, look, that logic led us astray with Tua last year because every Tua deep ball at camp, they zoomed in on the ball so you could actually gauge what's happening. And then they zoomed back out once it landed way short of Tyreek Hill. You missed out of frame, him having to come back to it. And I believe they did that on purpose. That is my genuine belief. Now, did that belief manifest in what you would think that like he was bad? No, it didn't. But I think the camera work scouting is something we're maybe underrating here.
We're going to be back on the clock here in a second. And I do think we need to start considering quarterback in the next few rounds.
We got Daniel Jones and Rams week 17.
I was gonna say that,
We got Daniel Jones with we have stacks for him.
Oh, a little stretch. Yeah. We heat him up.
That. Green for every single team.
Looks like we're huge Daniel Jones fans.
Is that where we want to go here?
Let's do it.
The most inspiring player in the entire board.
Look, Daniel Jones is fine. He is a certainly fine quarterback.
Fine.
He was like 12th in EPA per play last year, and his receivers were like genuinely like cut by the team or other teams in the middle, like after the year, like Sterling Shepard cut and reworked his contract or whatever. Like Isaiah Hodgins, the only reason he was on that team is just because he knew the system. He had played for the Bills the year before, and the Bills cut him in like week 4. And, like that guy is going to be a every down player for us. Yeah, I get that he's not bad. They were in a bad spot. And I think Dable did a good job of getting like 110% out of a pretty bad situation. You know, if he can get close to that out of a better situation, part of the bad situation is Daniel Jones is not that good, but like he's a good talent maximizer and had no talent last year. Daniel Jones can be good. Also, he's a great runner, obviously.
So like, I mean, fine. You were right. Like, I said uninspiring, and you did not really inspire me with that speech. I don't think you were trying to inspire with that speech.
Even on Underdog, he just falls in that tier where it's like, yeah, this is fine. Like, whatever. I missed out on Watson.
We're on
Penny's
the clock.
I think a nice add to our running 0 RB room. What do you guys think about him?
I hate Rashad Penny.
Oh, really talented player in less in positive rushing environment, goes to the best running environment in the league with a mobile quarterback and an elite line.
All right, we'll take Penny. This will be my one share of Penny. You've ruined my
like obviously. Like, I feel like there's a lot of like Penny's like very high level profile that says like obvious fade. He's like on his second team. They're paying him like 400 nickels a game or whatever. And like easily
coming off a serious injury.
Yeah.
coming up serious injury. But as
Beat
Greg
writers
said, like,
openly speculating that he might get stashed on IR or cut.
yeah. But on
Yeah,
the other
besides
hand,
that, though, Kyle, go ahead.
but as Gretch was
That was
saying,
the
like,
play, Mrs. Lincoln.
yeah, as Gretch was saying though, like he's a very much he could literally score 0 points. Like they stash him on IR, he doesn't
He
play. They're like
literally
healthy
will.
scratching him. He could also be one of the league's most talented running backs between the league best offensive line on a team that's going to run the ball a ton. Like as Gretch said, like
All their
there are-
backs last year, super high yards per carry. Penny
Yeah.
over in Seattle, super high yards per carry. I mean, yards per carry is not a great stat, but like if he gets carries,
he's like a rush yards over expected phenom too.
Yeah, right. I mean, I feel like to the extent that there's issues about him getting on the field. I realize that, but if he gets on the field, I feel very confident he's going to run efficiently. And
like that's a good bet to be making in
Right.
a contest where so much of the prize pool is first out of like a million people or whatever. Like I want the guy who is priced in the middle of him scoring 0 or being like a top 15 back. Like I don't want the guy who is very appropriately priced, has a nice distribution around scoring a few points. Like Penny is a home run or total whiff type of pick, which like,
right.
sure.
You also
do it.
love it in any general best ball build more than I would like in a seasonal managed league, because I do think Philly's going to use all their backs, but there are going to be spike games for Penny where he gets on a roll and they ride him to 12 carries. But on 12 carries, he might have a 100-yard rushing day because he has a really efficient day that day. Catches a few balls, whatever. Like I think we're going to get 20-point games out of Penny if he's with the Eagles all year, which is really nice in a best ball build, just to get some running back upside infused in a 0 RB build.
Tank Bigsby 12-3. That can't be normal, right? That's out of the usual loop.
That's got to be a little high.
Yeah.
But not overly high. I think he's like 14th round usually. Would be my guess. I mean, a few rounds.
The one issue with Penny here is obviously it's full PPR. He's a little better on Underdog. See Damian Harris really falling here compared to where he would go in.
Yeah, I think for our build, Damian Harris makes a ton of sense.
He's an easy.
We need those couple touchdown weeks. Yeah.
Yeah. Even though he's not going to be a big pass catcher, probably like
right.
Again, might get 100 yards rushing. If they decide they don't want, I mean, I think a big reason they brought him in, or an argument could be made, a big reason they brought him in is they don't want Josh Allen, and they've talked about not wanting Josh Allen to run as much. They don't want him taking the hits around the goal line as much. Like if they are finally committed to like, hey, we want a running back to get these rushing TDs, you just got the guy that makes perfect sense to do that with.
Yeah, and unlike Rashad Penny, he's actually going to make the team. So luckily we're going to get some points.
What other stacks are we eyeing here besides Rams Giants?
Well, we could be looking at doing Derek Carr at some point.
Okay.
We could take
Stafford.
We could take Warren here to set up Pickett. And then we'd have Deontay Johnson, Jalen Warren.
We could take Pickett with just Deontay. I mean, I like Warren a lot. We could definitely take Warren.
Yeah.
If we do take Warren, I think we might be looking at double tapping
QB after that.
Yeah, we might have to.
Is Geno out there? Where are we at in that range?
Warren,
no, Geno's got to be gone.
Way gone? Yeah.
Yeah.
Where are we at? I don't. What pick are we at? 149 is Stafford's ADP. Do we want to take Stafford here? No. We have
I'm absolutely not opposed to Stafford.
Go Stafford. Let's do it. I think we all agree Stafford.
I think it makes sense.
All right. We grab Stafford.
And the fun thing, if you consider it fun, about Daniel Jones is that all of his options are available later on. Just pick one. Good luck.
Usually the sign of a good quarterback is none of their receivers or players anyone wants.
Oh,
I didn't even notice that Pickett went before.
Wow, I didn't see that either.
Yeah, so this is
the Pickett stack would not have worked out very well if Pickett was already off the board.
I mean, it was unexpected, but like I said, the QB thing on DraftKings can get crazy. Derek Carr went 11 in the 11th round here.
Oh wow, he's already gone.
Yeah, so
good thing we picked Stafford then, because we did.
Yeah, I feel a lot better about the Stafford pick.
Yeah. Dang, we're good at this. Go us.
QB's
QB's
get steamed here. I didn't even notice that.
Kyle, you broke the tie towards Stafford. Thanks for coming in with that dunk on the alley-oop.
Paris Campbell, Steven, was getting hyped today for whatever
I saw
that's
that.
like.
I don't know about this stuff.
Jalen Hyatt can't even play in 2 wide sets in the professional football league. But Paris Campbell's out there every single down for a game.
Yeah, what are we gonna be looking at for Daniel?
Who are we
Jones
doing? Daniel Jones. I mean, like, I don't care too much. Like, I don't have a strong take on any of these guys. Hyatt, like, he could be a spike week guy. You know, he's deep speed, yada yada. The talking points. Wandale, looked like there was something going with Wandale last year.
Darius Slayton actually got
Yes.
like a lot of guaranteed money this offseason. He's the one guy that got enough money where I'm like, okay, like you got 4.9 million guaranteed on a 2-year deal. I mean, it's not a ton, but it's enough that makes me think he's going to play this year.
That's got to be significantly more than Paris Campbell.
Yeah, he got like 1 million guaranteed, I want to say.
Yeah, Slayton, Hodgins, Hyatt, since you're never going to pick him right. Those are definitely options I don't mind. Waller's kind of the last I pick with
Campbell
2 tight end builds.
Campbell got 3 million fully guaranteed.
Where do we want to go here, gentlemen?
Oh, we're back on the clock. Yuck.
We are. Everything's starting to dry up here.
Yep.
We could grab Hyatt. I know you guys hate Hyatt, but
No, I like Hyatt.
It makes sense.
I like
It makes sense.
Throw him on there.
and that allows us to. I mean, we can still grab another wide receiver who want to later, but that is.
What's our build right now? 2 QBs. How many running backs do we have? 4?
Yes, we have 4 running backs.
It's gonna be 6 or 7 RB team, probably 7.
Probably 7. And we could also do Eric Gray if we want to get fancy with our giant stack late.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you can get Gary Brightwell, but smaller, then you got to go for it. Same exact 4.62 40 time as Gary Brightwell. Like let's do a little bit of RAS scouting here, Rob. Come on,
Guys, can we take one
Galaxy
player
Brain.
any of us
we
are
have
happy
100
about?
rounds.
I just like giving Rob crap.
Oh, it's fine. At least he's going to be on the team, Gretch. You made me take a running back that isn't even going to be in the league in 2 months. In the 11th round.
Rashawn Penny's not going to be in the league in 2 months.
He's not going to be in the league in 2 months.
Take.
Well, not 2 months,
Roshan
maybe
is
3.
Roshan is actually an amazing special teams player. He's going to be active every week. That's the best I got.
The only other thing we could be
I'll
looking to do here, in my opinion, as much as I do like Roshan, is Brock Purdy to go with George Kittle and not get locked out at QB, but for our 3 QB build.
I don't mind Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
I'd go Roshan here.
Okay.
Let's do it. Yeah, I want to keep building out running back for sure. Who else is available at running back? Okay, we'll take Roshan.
Sorry.
I would have taken Roshan amongst these guys anyway.
Pick.
So
look at the I don't want those guys.
Yeah, Diggle. I saw. I think it was either Eberflus or the OC said that like priority number 1 for the running backs is protecting the quarterback and pass pro. That's a Roshan tweet if I ever seen one.
That's good.
Pass pro and gunner on special teams. That's what he does, man.
Wow, Sam Howell.
He's a little workhorse.
1506.
Yep.
You weren't lying.
No, this is why like I think the 3 QB build on DraftKings is probably slightly suboptimal because of the value you're getting at other positions already. Some of the guys we talked about earlier, so you can actually get an elite QB and still get guys you're not getting on Underdog a little bit later to build out your team. So
What QB options do we have left on the board even?
Right now it's probably Purdy, and that's
Purdy, Ritter.
Yeah, Bryce Young is still there for some reason.
Oh, Mac Jones, and I can see your Spike Week tool say you got a lot of Mac Jones.
Ooh, I mean, Mac Jones backstacking with one of the tight ends. I like both the Patriots tight ends because Gesicki's a receiver.
And Damian Harris, week 17, Gretch. Damian Harris puts him up by 4 scores. Here comes Mac Jones to save the day, and we win $1 million.
I gotta assume Tyquan Thornton is gone in this draft, right?
Well, that's fine because he's not good. So.
Whoa! Yeah, Tyquan went right after we took Jalen Hyatt, or right before we.
Dang.
But Hunter Henry will be around.
Not a Tyquan fan.
I think he was nearly DFL in yards per route run last year, and he was like a not good prospect particularly. He's fine.
Hunter Henry will be around.
He's terrible, and his whole family should be ashamed of him. He's fine.
He's fine. Like, do what you want. Live your life. I'm in for Brock Purdy here.
So we're
Purdy.
2-5-7-1 right now. Do we want to go Purdy?
Yeah, let's do it.
We do want Purdy.
Mhm.
We want to seal
Kittle,
this up.
Kittle was a Purdy pick, so let's do it.
Always was. We knew
So
that
we-
guy who had Debo was not going to take him because you could see
Right.
in his eyes that he was a madman, not hell-bent on not stacking. Neither of his quarterbacks stacked
Took
as
Kyler.
far as I can tell at all. Oh, but a third one unstacked too,
Yeah.
maybe.
He had to grab Kyler Murray on this team.
But just because he missed the first two, he decided to also miss the third one.
All right, so we have
Available at run,
three.
can you go like cycle through the running back list a little bit because it had like Zeke at the top, and I just like no one wants that.
You got to be done with that.
So Jeff Wilson, Gus Edwards, who I don't hate, like back here for,
Yeah.
I think CPAT's
Jeff
a
Wilson's
fun pick,
correlation
little
with
bring back
Rashad
on
Bateman.
Roschon.
Us just naming terrible like 0.2 correlation. Like they don't really correlate. I was like, that guy is
Roschon
playing
Cordell
with that guy.
Patterson is the correlation you need.
Yeah.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire, might still be alive.
Oh, there's
Well, we're already banking on game day inactive, so Clyde Edwards-Helaire makes a lot of sense for this
Is
build.
he not their direct backup? Like, who's their? Is it just McKinnon?
It is
No,
McKinnon. I think generic Prince is going to win kick returner duty, so he'll be active.
You think
And-
Saint's gonna be inactive?
Clyde is so inactive. I've never seen him more inactive. player.
And CH may be inactive. You're right.
You ever seen a player?
Dwayne McBride is here as well. If you want to play the Alexander,
Yeah,
I
Madison
love
RB2
Dwayne
game.
McBride. I'm
Let's
so
do
Let's
into
go,
it.
Dwayne
Let's do it.
McBride.
Let's-
I like
yeah.
Dwayne McBride a lot,
Who do we
Wait a
have
minute,
from
like-
Green Bay?
and he's only here because he's still recovering. Like he's
We have
fine.
Christian
He's
Watson.
taking his time with him.
Look at that, Watson, Dwayne McBride. What if that's
Oh!
the correlation you need?
Look at that skill. I
So
forgot about we had Christian Watson.
over here, we can see the playoff matchups we're building, right? So Dwayne McBride,
Oh,
Christian
nice.
Watson.
Thank you to Spike Week for the tool
Yes.
that you accidentally had to host us with. I appreciate it.
I love that we have both quarterbacks in a game in the Meadowlands in Week 17. That's gonna go great. Let's go,
That's-
Purdy.
Well, we've already won $1 million, Gretch. It's going to happen with this team.
Yeah, I'm tweeting this team out later. This is a good team.
I mean, it's a good team. We got a lot of correlation.
It's a
to it.
fun team. We made some friends along the way. That's
Yeah,
what really
right.
matters.
Wait, we have not taken a second tight end. We might want to consider, looking at the fact that,
There's no way anyone good is left. Are they breathing?
yeah. Wow,
Ferguson
Jake Ferguson
comes
just
off the
went.
board.
That tells you
Wow.
everything. I have
It's
zero
all-
confidence
it's-
now.
I think Michael Mayer may still be out there.
Yeah,
he was on
Rob,
the top
we
of
go
the list at
click on
some
the-
point.
we go click on the tight end so we can get a peek at it.
It's all from perspective, though. Like
Ooh, is Trey McBride available? Oh, can we get the McBride penny stack? Yeah, let's go, McBride penny.
You want to talk about inactive stats?
And he plays Chicago in Week 16. He's got the Roschon in Week 16.
Oh my god.
Beautiful. Oh, Gesicki? There's a lot of great tight ends.
Is likely as well. Yeah.
Great is a strange way to put it, but sure.
Gesicki and McBride. Look at all the green on their matchups. Ooh, that's the way I would play it. I know that.
Where do you guys want to go here?
I would go Michael Mayer because he's better than anyone on the board.
I would go Gesicki.
I would go Gesicki.
Ooh.
Looks like it's going to be
Kyle,
Gesicki.
I can't do second round on tight ends. I can't even barely do first round tight ends, Kyle. I just can't
Off
do
the
it.
top rope.
I don't know, man.
Let's
Like,
give him 4 years and go back. We can't do this year.
So we're 3-6-7-2 right now, just so you guys know.
Mike Gesicki, like physically incapable of blocking, and then goes to Bill Belichick's team. I've never heard of
him
worse
at receiver
vibes.
though. Like the beats are tweeting about like, yeah, he's not even practicing with the tight ends. He's just playing wide receiver.
Right.
Guys, he's just a receiver, but this time I promise it counts.
I mean, but like in the 18th round, like he was viable last year and not even running that many rounds.
Juju, like not even being able to walk, seems like everyone should
Right.
be talking about it more right now.
They
Get
do not
Devontae
have
Parker on
good
this
pass
team.
catchers, especially if you think Tyquan Thornton sucks. Do you think their offense is just going to be really bad again? Kyle, you
I like Devontae Parker a little bit. I like Hunter
Okay.
Henry a little bit. Devontae Parker's good. I don't get he was like top 40 in yards per route run, PFF receiving grade. Like he is a perfectly fine number 2. Should
He'll
he
be out
be
there.
their top target earner? I don't know about that, but he's good, goodish.
All right, so we got 4 quarterbacks.
So we're 2-5-7-1 right now. Just so you guys know. Mike Gesicki, like physically incapable of blocking, and then goes to Bill Belichick's team. I've never heard of worse vibes.
So we're 3-6-7-2 right now, just so you guys know.
Good ish.
Where are you guys
All right.
going here? I think I legitimately would be going McBride personally. But
McBride's gone.
okay.
Oh,
They were
Nope.
listening.
Running back? Wait, click running
let's do
back.
running back. Let's go to running back. We can work on tight end.
Oh,
Slide.
CEH.
Are you sure you want to work on running back?
Oh, no, we already have Akers. We don't want to bet against Akers.
Mm.
I'm
We have
fine
9
with Clyde.
seconds.
That's not a good pick, but
I'd be CEH, yeah.
I'd
Sure.
go CEH.
Unless there's more down that list.
Go down the list.
We had 2 seconds, guys.
No,
but
no,
we
I
can
know. I
still
just
look.
I still want to see the list though.
I mean, Ronald Jones.
I do draft Josh Kelly for whatever that's worth. Boy, once you reach Kenny McIntosh, we may need to just shut the screen.
I mean,
there's
if we're
someone
looking,
below,
if
I'm
we're
sure
like
of it.
galaxy braining, the guy, I mean, you can see from my percentages. When I'm in the 20th round, I take Malik Davis. I still think
I like
until they
that.
sign somebody, right? Which they might, they probably will.
You just don't think Ronald Jones exists.
I don't think any team that's ever had Ronald Jones fantasy exists.
I mean, it's fair. It's fair. Don't we need a third tight end here in the 20th round? Like, don't we just want to add something to
We
I'm
do.
fine with that.
Kittle Gesicki?
What is common in a 20-round DK draft, Rob? Are we supposed to go 2 tight end when we go elite?
I think you could tag on a third if you really want to.
Especially because our second tight end is so bad that I'm fine like shooting 2 very weak bullets at backup tight end.
Nice. Yeah. Will you click the tight end tab there so we can look at them? All right, there we go. Hey, Hunter Henry. Look at we can get both of the Patriots tight ends.
Hey, we talked about Buck stack with Olave. There's Cade Otton. He's gonna be out there every single snap.
Oof, yucky.
Yeah, I take a lot of Cade Otton.
Really bad last year. Hunter Henry's like a legitimately good player. I'm serious. Yeah. Gesicki playing receiver and Henry playing tight end. Okay, Henry White. Who cares?
Good. Thank God.
If he's there, the answer is likely, right? Because we want to bet on upside on that third tight end. Likely has the best upside case out of everybody on this list. He could legitimately be a top 5 tight end if something happens to Andrews.
As much as I hate to admit that Rob has a good take, it's a good take.
And he still has some standalone value too. So like I think likely.
I don't know about top 5.
I think the standalone value is a little tricky with the way that they actually have built out a reasonably deep receiver core now. I mean, they actually have like are they going to do a lot of 2 tight end stuff?
That's what I thought too. Like,
yeah,
we saw last year Todd Monken actually ran a bunch of 2 tight end, but it's because they had like if what's face was healthy, like they maybe had 2 first-round tight ends in that team, Brock Bowers and Darnell Washington. Like Washington was mocked as a first-round guy, and then it turns out his knees messed up or whatever. But they're going to have actual good. I mean, they've spent money like they're good receivers on this team,
right? Yeah,
looking at you,
Bateman, Zay, Odell is like a lot of. But I don't know. I still like the upside case for likely. If Andrews were to miss time, especially, I mean, this could
if it's an upside, it's only likely. Like he's the only guy where a tight end gets injured and likely becomes like a top 5 tight end, literally.
Right. You could say the same about Albert Akue-Boonham. I don't know if you know this, but he scored 10 touchdowns as a freshman.
Sure about that?
Yes. I'm still in on Alberto. I'm with you, Kyle.
Alberto, Drew Lock. Whoever thought Drew Lock would be the one person to elevate a player?
Leave the light on.
Only player.
All right. Do we want to run through our team real quick?
We do.
All right. We got Cooper Kupp, Chris Olave, Devonta Smith, Christian Watson, George Kittle, Deontay Johnson, Cam Akers, Rashad Bateman, Samaje Perine, Daniel Jones, Rashad Penny, Damian Harris, Matt Stafford, Jalen Hyatt, Roshan Johnson, Brock Purdy, Dwayne McBride, Mike Gesicki, CEH, and Isaiah Likely. Fortunately, only about 5 guys that are going to get cut. So I think
that is
only got
a way better
2.
team.
We got 7.
You're giving me credit for that team.
No,
it feels like a good team.
It's a good team.
And I will tell you, I draft some bad teams. I feel good about this one.
The one RB1 through RB4 should not be as good as we have it. I mean,
yes,
Rob hates the Penny pick, but to get Perine, Penny, and Damian Harris, who over on Underdog, they're all in this like 110 ADP range. You wouldn't be able to get all 3 of them in stacked rounds like we did. And actually, I mean, we took Perine in the 9th. We got 11th and 12th. Penny and Harris are really great prices compared to what you have to pay on Underdog. That's 120s, 130s overall. And then with Akers in the 7th, I mean, that's a really nice 0 RB room.
Just keep telling yourself 83% of backfield touches the last month of the season. Just keep reminding yourself. It's all that matters.
That's Akers?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, dude, The Achilles is supposed to be an 18-month injury. I was fading Akers a lot last season. Didn't expect a lot out of him personally. Had a rough start to the year. I'm looking at the end of that year last year too and going, hey, look, he kind of looked like his pre-injury self, and that was the 18-month timeline. I'm a little bit intrigued by Akers this year too. I don't think that's a bad call.
I think this is one of the perfect ways to build a 0 RB team, right? Like I think we nailed it completely, especially on DraftKings. Like that last round pick was a luxury pick. We could have done whatever we wanted with it, but we probably took the highest upside guy for our particular team, would likely already having Kittle. It's just like a great bet for us because if he doesn't pan out, who cares? We have Kittle. If he does pan out, we're smashing even more than we already are. Our wide receiver core is like disgustingly good, and
even if Bateman's current like foot injection haunts him, he's our wide receiver 6 base. Like, we just took a high upside guy who can maybe lead his team in targets. That's all we did.
Who his quarterback has already been touting him as a wide receiver 1 in the offseason.
His quarterback is a second-round pick in this draft.
Yeah,
is 7 receivers? I mean, we took a lot of really good ones. Is 7 receivers enough, or do you typically try to do more on DK?
I think we started with receivers in 4 of the first 5.
5 of the first 6 and 4 of the
yeah, 5, 6 or whatever. So yeah, 5 of the first 6. I think had we even just sprinkled in like had we flipped one of these for like an elite quarterback or something, maybe we'd want to go up to 8. But like no, I think 7 is good for going like elite wide receiver 1, elite wide receiver 1, like the best wide receiver 2 in the league. Like I think 7 is good for who we took and when we took them.
I think that's the key point, is because we didn't go elite QB, then it's 7. But if we did go elite, then we would have definitely probably gone 8 wide receivers.
What are some big differences just off the top of your head, Gretch, you notice in this type of format compared to Underdog, since I know you've been doing a lot of BBM drafts with Ship Chasing and Overzet in that group?
I mean, I think certainly the 20 rounds adds a really intriguing element. I like that we did 3 QBs and 3 tight ends. It's a lot tougher to manage on Underdog to do 3 of both. But I don't think it probably gets I don't know. There's probably good research on this somewhere, but I would guess that the extra 2 rounds doesn't get understood to be as valuable as it is for those 3 builds. Because like the reason 3 QB and 3 tight end builds aren't like massively great over on Underdog is just because you have the constraint on how many running backs and receivers you can have. But it is a really nice advantage to have the 3rd one in any kind of best ball format at both positions. And anyway, I like that we did that on this build. And then I would say that, the other thing I noticed is like you got some people in this draft that took 10 plus receivers with the 20 rounds. And so that was the reason I asked about the 7 receivers. I think that's viable too to take. I mean, you have the guy in the 1 hole, the 6 hole, and the 8 hole. It looks like all were 10 plus receivers. And I think that's, like I said, I mean, an interesting element on a full PPR. We talked about the 100 plus yardage bonus. Wide receiver spike weeks can be super high. In the scoring system. And so really loading up on receivers, I can see that as a more viable thing on DK, especially as opposed to obviously the half PPR Underdog. You got to have a little bit of balance over there.
I don't think 7 is necessarily thin, given that we spent so much capital in the wide receivers. Like, who is it? 109 looks like he has the same capital in wide receivers with 4 of his first 5 or 5 of his first 6 picks. How many did he end up with there? 8, it says. So
yeah. So he did 2 QBs. He went Watson Rodgers. So he established that Watson is a guy that he can do the double QB build with. And I think that's like where you have to make that decision too. Are you comfortable going into these builds with Watson on a 2 QB or a 3 QB? And especially with the premium you're paying for quarterback on this, that's what you got to kind of figure out when you're building it.
Off the top of my head, also, it doesn't look like there's much stacking.
I was trying to count while they were talking. I was trying to count the same thing.
112 has Cowboys, Lions, and some Chargers, Broncos going on. That's very noticeable. But honestly, I don't see much correlation, which also helps us.
Yeah. We had a lot built in, which is, I mean, we were able to get that at good prices, and just sort of the guys we would want to hit anyway were available. I mean, when we got DeWayne McBride to pair with Christian Watson, I mean, what are you going to do?
Which was skill, all skill. 108 also does, the lowest hanging fruit, which no one complains about. But obviously, anytime someone takes Kelsey, they just immediately run to Patrick Mahomes. I believe I saw even on FFPC right now, like Kelsey to Mahomes is done in like 68% of leagues. It's like the most common thing everyone has.
Yeah, we have projections, and like over on Spike Week, we have ownership projections for combos and stacks and everything. And those two are heavily coming in as the number one stack that's going to be just like way over owned in pretty much every single tournament. The next two are generally going to be the Bengals guys. So
yeah.
Is there an argument to not stack those two? I guess it would be to take Mahomes without Kelsey. Kelsey can't really be a league winner in a tournament. Because, okay, what I'm saying is that you get to these final rounds of the tournament, most of the other teams that have Kelsey are also going to have Mahomes. So Kelsey goes off for you, but they're also getting Mahomes on their rosters.
Yeah.
Is there an argument to differentiate by only taking one? It probably is hard to do with just Kelsey. But Mahomes, I think, could go other directions if you stack Mahomes through Sky Moore and all these other random guys.
And you could
build Kelsey through the Bengals stack, right?
That's what I do. Yes.
Okay.
Because you can't have Chase, but you can have Higgins, Mixon, and Burrow.
Right. So that might be the way to do that. I think
you could also build Kelsey with like other elite quarterbacks, especially elite rushing quarterbacks that can just outscore like Lamar can just go 115 and 2 on the ground, and he's almost certainly the highest scoring quarterback. Doesn't mean Mark Andrews necessarily ripped off 102 touchdowns. Like same with Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts can just rush for 3 touchdowns, right? So I think for those like instances, that's probably how you build the Kelsey non-Mahomes team, is through a quarterback that you think can score similarly to Mahomes. And I think that's like Lamar would be that guy. It hurts like even like Fields, Anthony Richardson. The rushers are probably that way. Mahomes obviously a lot easier. Just like take any of it. Take Kadarius Toney or whatever. Rashee Rice.
It's the same as for the Chargers at 111 or 112. Like Justin Herbert has to be the most double stack quarterback because Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and or Quentin Johnson are just always there with Herbert at the back of drafts.
I also think doing the Kelsey Mahomes thing is a lot harder on Underdog than it is on DraftKings. You're investing so much capital in those two positions that you're so behind the 8 ball at either wide receiver or running back, and you're really punting off one of those positions. So and not being able to have those extra 2 rounds to just try to take a couple extra dart throws. Kelsey Mahomes, you got to really draft. You got to be on the ball with who you're drafting. And
I mean, even our Kelsey Mahomes team here, like we're bodying, like they're getting bodied at receiver most weeks. Like
the only argument you're kind of arguing which is the greater evil, though, since as we talked about at the beginning, at least you're getting the bonus for Mahomes on this format.
Yeah.
So it's like a double-edged sword.
I think the greater evil is no receivers. If I just purely based on vibes, like
yeah.
That's
like, also on vibes only. You got to get some receivers in here.
Yeah, but like this person too probably could have used to invest even more at receiver because like they probably I think they got decent running backs in the 7th, 8th, 9th, whatever. Like they probably should have swapped that Ken Walker pick for another receiver.
I mean, if I'm going Kelsey Mahomes, I'm probably going 5 straight receivers after that when I'm looking at this.
Me too, yeah.
How I would have approached it. I think it's a Walker and the Kamara pick could have both been receivers. And then they could have came out of this all right. The running back values that were there that we wound up benefiting from. I mean, they were there. They were available through the 12th round.
And even if I had won the argument and we took Cam Akers around early, if Deontay doesn't come back, I'd probably just try to talk the room into Treylon Burks, who went 5 picks later. So it was just like a miniature swap on a micro analysis of a receiver. We weren't going to lose anything at that position since we were still all in on 0 RB.
One of the builds I've been looking at people doing, I haven't done myself yet, but I find it like slightly intriguing. And someone did it in this draft and they absolutely bungled the way to do it. But if you look at the 103 here, when they start Chase Waddle, I have been seeing people go with 4 running backs afterwards, which I find kind of intriguing because you can just be done at running back. You're kind of going for that robust, whatever you want to call it, running back room, hyper fragile, but you're punting it to the 3rd round to do it. And then you just load up on, 5, 6, 7, 8 more wide receivers, especially on DK with 2 elites. This team, unfortunately, didn't do that because they go Kyle Pitts, then they go 3 more RBs.
Kept taking running backs.
Yeah, they just kept going. But-
the T levels very high.
Yeah.
But
But
I like
I
that idea,
do
Rob,
find-
though, because like you can really get like I think the way running backs are going this year, like this we had Tony Pollard in the 3rd round, dude. Like there is a very real scenario in for like Pollard. I mean, there are 3 in the 3rd round here. Pollard, Ramondre, and Brees Hall. Like you could tell me at the like 18 weeks after week 1, they were the number 2 running back in the league. They were the top 3 running back. Totally believe it. That is very conceivable. Whereas like in years previous, the reason they're running back dead zone thing is like these guys littered the 1st and 2nd round, but we've pushed running back ADP so far that like,
Yeah.
I'm fine doing that type of start. Like if you can swing some of these guys to start your draft, like anchor around and even get 2 or 3 of them at, Pollard and someone else, ETN in the 4th round, something like that.
How crazy is it that there's 3 running backs in the 1st round, 4 in the 2nd round? There's 7 running backs through 2 rounds. I mean, I was looking at the draft board from last year, and I saw one from a couple years ago recently, and it's just like there was like 10 running backs in the 1st round of one of these drafts. Like, I mean, it's just the last couple of years we've pivoted really hard that direction again. Some of it has to do with a really good class of running back that's aging out. That's 25 plus now. A lot of these guys are starting to age out, and there hasn't been a ton of youngsters that are young and healthy. And I mean, Brees Hall got hurt last year. Javonte Williams got hurt last year. Those guys would be going a lot higher if they didn't. But it's fascinating. 7 running backs through 2 rounds in this draft is a wild scenario.
Like when the season began of drafting, I told myself, well, obviously we don't want to be there when the bottom falls out on Derrick Henry and Josh Jacobs and those types of running backs. But then like when both of those players are usually available in the 3rd round, it's like, I guess I have to draft them because here they are like an ADP dip. So there's no reason I should avoid them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the other interesting thing is the quarterbacks that we were talking about and them getting pushed all the way up over the last few years because of the separation some of the elites do. So you're pushing up wide receivers, you're pushing up quarterbacks, but you're just absolutely pushing down these running backs, and there is no dead zone anymore for the most part until you get to that. I know ETN's in the middle of it, and I don't mind taking him, but the Aaron Jones Najee is like just like a mini dead zone. It's like 2 guys now as opposed to what it used to be.
Well, when I started doing the dead zone work at CBS, I remember feeling like RB20 was about where like it was like RB20 to RB30 or 32. And so when I first started writing about it, I remember talking about it's like there's 32 NFL teams. It's the starter on like the back half of the teams that we don't really trust as much that often get ranked between RB20 and RB32. And then those guys lose their job. And it's just this projected touches. This is the guy we think is a starter, but they're not actually the starter. You look at this, you just mentioned ETN. I think I was just counting. He's like RB14. Like back in the day, in the middle of round 4, it was RB20. Like that's the point I'm making is the dead zone original research. Like it was like RB20 in the middle of round 4. Now it's RB14. It's not the dead zone. Like, you know what I mean? That's a different type of player.
And even if you were to draft, let's say he falls more and he falls to RB20 and he scores as the RB14, like that doesn't matter. Like it doesn't help you win your league. It's just there. That's just what happened.
And to your point, if you start looking at the 20th, that's going to be like that Miles Sanders, AJ Dillon range, Dalvin Cook, Kamara, Connor, right? Like all those guys feel like they would be the quintessential dead zone in years past. So they just get pushed way, way down.
They're way down. And then at a certain point, you have to say, well, now the opportunity cost is a lot different.
Dead zone's about price. These guys are overpriced. Right. It's not about like these are purely bad players who will never score fantasy points. They're way overpriced. And like you said, now it's about the opportunity cost. We took Akers at a good spot. Like he sort of has like some dead zone characteristics. Like James Conner and DeAndre Swift has. Boy, does that guy have a lot of dead zone characteristics. But like this late into the draft, like the opportunity cost has become so much lower that like I fully support us taking Akers. We're smart. We did this really well. Go team. It
allows the 0 RB builds to happen more now too. Like because there was always arguments against 0 RB, but when they're all getting pushed down, it makes so much more sense to make these bets and these builds on 0 RB. And even I like doing a lot of hero RB stuff too, but it's just so much easier to do today than it was 12 months ago.
And it's funny. It's a more balanced strategy because when 0 RB first became a thing, I know Sean used to write about Sean Siegel, who wrote the original Zero RB article, used to write about trying to get 6 of the top 15 receivers, and running backs went so high that you almost could draft. Like you're trying to finish with 6 of the top 15, but you could draft like 4 of the top 15. You can't do that anymore, right? So now, I mean, the running backs have been pushed way down, and back in the day, it was you're loaded at receiver, and the things that you could do at receiver from the draft would make that position so strong that how weak running back was, you could maybe gain those points back. Now it's like, well, you can't get that loaded at receiver, but also the trade-off is your running back room isn't that bad at all. It's a more like middle of the road strategy when ADP has shifted this much. And it's like, it shouldn't be scary to anyone. It's perfectly viable. It's very easy to do.
And look at the wide receivers after Bateman. 8th round. We're talking Elijah Moore, OBJ, Sutton.
Yeah.
I mean, I like Zay Flowers, but Jamison Williams on the
Alan
suspension.
Lazard.
Zay Jones. Lazard.
Odell Beckham.
Jacoby Myers. Yeah.
That's where the wide receiver window slammed shut right there.
It closes. It's a drastic teardrop.
Yep.
It might be the biggest teardrop in the entire draft.
Yep. I agree.
So
you look at like the 7-8 turn, you were talking about Traylon Burks, we have Pickens, Dotson, Quentin Johnston, those names, and then we got Bateman, Gabe Davis. Like those are some interesting names. A couple rounds later, you're talking about Alan Lazard and Zay Jones. Like, dude, that's a different class of receiver. That's a massive difference.
And there are some upside guys that are sprinkled in, like Rashee Rice and stuff that you can take stabs on, but you don't know. Like you're just hoping and praying that they get some run on their team. It's just that the wide receiver cost, you have to.
Yeah, that's
have
like
to have
dead zone wide receiver. Like this is the back end of like the set, like the wide receiver 2s on their teams, right? Where like, I don't know. I think Adam Thielen's like a starting receiver. Certainly didn't play like it last year. Like Alan Lazard, like totally just a guy. He should probably get a lot of snaps, but like,
right.
If he's playing with Garrett Wilson, I don't know if that guy's seeing targets. He is just like not good enough to hold a candle to him. Romeo Dobbs, like he's a starter. He's a start. Draft him. He's a starter. But like this is like kind of what the dead zone looks like at receiver.
Yeah.
Especially in PPR leagues. Yes, it becomes so much more pertinent to do this early.
Mm-hmm.
It's also why that build that we were talking about earlier, where you take the 2 elite wide receivers and then the 4 running backs, then you just smash a ton of these guys and like, spray and pray basically for your 3rd, 4th spot on your team. Makes a little bit more sense than it would in years past. So.
Yeah. The thing I would also hammer home about that wide receiver window is just, again, I used the term upside profiles a minute ago, but last year it was Garrett Wilson was sort of the end of the wide receiver window, and a lot of us thought about he's a really good value. He ends up with a really strong upside season where he's now being drafted in the 2nd round. Year prior, it was Debo, who was the guy that we were saying in the 8th round is like one of the last real upside profiles. He was in the 2nd round this past year as a result of a really great season in 2021. That's what I'm talking about when I talk about like the Burks and the Dotson and the Quentin Johnstons. Those guys, I think, have those types of upside profiles. And then when you go to Lazard, Zay Jones, Thielen, like Kyle was saying, those guys are going to run a lot of routes. They could be good, but you just don't have the upside anymore. These guys are there's no scenario where Alan Lazard or Adam Thielen is drafted in the 2nd round next year. It can't happen. It literally can't happen.
Is there any guys that like you raise your eyebrows at that are getting up in these spots? Because the one that I was raising my eyebrow at the last few weeks was Jordan Addison, but I can't make an argument against him going in the 6th and 7th round because of what we're talking about. It just floors me that he's going that high versus, what they have in years past. I don't know why he stands out to me versus everything else.
I think he's pricey. I think Quentin Johnston should be going ahead of him, frankly. I mean, they're sort of both the 3rd weapon on their offense, but Johnston has Justin Herbert, and he's not going up against Justin Jefferson. Keenan Allen is a really big target dominator, but I mentioned earlier in the show, I don't have a lot of love for Mike Williams. Mm-hmm. I think Jefferson, Hawkinson is a tougher 1-2 to kind of be the 3rd weapon as part of than Johnson's facing. And then he also doesn't have the Herbert, quarterback situation. Like I don't really understand why Addison goes so comfortably ahead of Johnson in all formats right now. But
here's one: Brandon Cooks. Paint me the picture in which Brandon Cooks is a 2nd, 3rd round pick next year. Like I get that, like he's like a premium version of the guys we were just talking about. We're like, yeah, they can be good. Like Brandon Cooks is definitively good. I'd bet on him getting 1,000 yards like over Kadarius Toney, over even like Michael Pittman or George Pickens. Sure, like that's his distribution centered around 1,000, better than those guys. But like, does it hit 1,400 ever? No, like it's just not. Whereas like Deontay is a supreme target earner. If Kenny Pickett just turns out to be better, like quarterbacks just get better as they do, yeah, he can get there. Tony is Tony. He's the most efficient player for the 8 snaps. He gets 80% of the snaps. Even obviously the efficiency scales down. You can see it. Like you can see it with a lot of these guys. Like name a more boring pick in the first like 6 rounds at receiver than Brandon Cooks. Like couldn't be.
Yeah.
And Gallup now being 2 years removed from his basically was reconstructive ACL surgery. I do take Gallup actually in my Dak Prescott because he's basically getting double discounted for what he should have been discounted last season.
I was trying to find a more boring pick for you. The only one I could come up with was
Brandon Cooks the most boring one.
Cooks definitely took the cake.
Yeah, there's no one else like right in that range that's as boring as him. Two rounds down, it's Elijah Moore. That's another price I don't get. Even as these wide receivers
fun.
fall.
I don't think it's a good pick, but I'd say it's fun.
Yeah. You're just taking a big swing on a college profile that we didn't, I mean, I don't think he's boring either.
Did 101 also go Justin Jefferson?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's why they prioritized Kirk Cousins so high over Geno.
And Hawkinson Cousins went with the Vikings double stack.
They got a Tua no Dolphins though, right?
Tua no Dolphins
interesting,
and Vikings. Did they get any Packers? Did they get like Jaden Reed or something? No Aaron Jones? No Packers either. That's weird.
You
are on DraftKings. They go get used to this stuff.
I'm going to fill those single entries. I'm excited about it.
The single entries are fun.
Yeah.
The 3 max has the best payout structure.
The $9, you were telling me about this. Yeah. It's something like for first place, it goes like 10,000, 8,000, 6,000, 5, 4, 3 or something like super tiered.
Flat.
Yeah. That sucks because I was going to do a stream where I just did all 3 at once for a bit, but never mind. I don't want to waste those $9 bullets. Yeah. Those $9 bullets seem premium.
Don't blow those. All of their 3 max stuff is the DK 3 max, in my opinion, are the best payout structures in all of best ball.
I'm glad you told me.
And I'll stand by that. I mean, that's what I like though. I like the flat. I like the
flatter
payouts.
I was going to say, personally, like I would take the like 50% to first, like super like quote terrible payout structures, because I think the field plays that worse. Like they don't understand how much more important it is to get first place up 1% versus just playing to min cash. Just playing to min cash is closer to being correct in what is like quote good payout structure, but like for bankroll management, you definitely should be playing in the ones where like you don't get 5th place and double your money, something terrible like that.
Right. Yeah. So I think you just, and it's so cheap to do it. It's $27 to max the tournament. Right. And they have the 20 max ones. Like if you're new to best ball, they have a $3 20 max tournament, $60 and you can max a tournament and you're not going up against sickos like myself. That's 150ing in these things. So I think they have, I mean, Underdog's interface and everything clearly better, right? We understand that. But in terms of like actual tournaments, I prefer DK a little bit more.
And they're clearly coexisting. They are doing different things, which
they're
gives
doing
all of us different options.
And we're getting draft boards now from them, which is beautiful.
What a world. Yeah. AI on this end, the other end, a draft board finally got inserted.
I've heard a lot about these draft boards. I got to say, I like them. They got the little pictures on there and everything.
I think it's a better draft board. That's the one thing I like better. It shows you the arrows. You know which way they drafted in case you're like looking and getting confused.
I like being able to sort rankings and ADP. I don't know why that isn't a feature at some other spots. I like doing both of those things, but at least DraftKings has it. I can do it there.
Yeah.
All right, boys. That was a lot of fun chatting.
Yeah.
Rob, since you were kind enough to host this using Spike Week's tools, tell everyone where they can find everything we used today.
Well, you can go to spikeweek.com. We have some monthly membership options. We have yearly membership options. And if you haven't signed up at Drafters yet, you can go sign up at Drafters, use our code, and get a free month of Spike Week tools and test them out first. That's like the life hack right now. Everyone wants a free trial. That's how you get your free trial.
Gretch, what do you have coming out for everyone?
Just stealing bananas, ship chasing. Gonna be doing the projections pod series with Michael Leone over at Steps to Run pretty soon. I'm writing up some off-season stealing signals posts around my projections in the next few weeks. I've been kind of procrastinating the first one of that, so that should be coming any day that I stop procrastinating and actually get it done. But yeah, the newsletter, bengretch.substack.com.
And Kyle, I know you're working your ass off at Roto World, so please tell everyone where to go so that we can get you some clicks.
Just follow me. I try and tweet out all my stuff. I'm really bad at that, but I generally do. And check out the Roto World Football Show.
The most accurate podcast on iTunes as well. Today, I was joined by Edwin Porras and Adam Hutchinson to discuss in length all the injuries and whether the ADPs are accurate about recovering players for the next month, since we are now getting to that season where that seems pertinent. So until then, we'll be back with more guests next week. Be a little bit kinder than what's required. We'll see you next time.